Hey there, bookkeeping side hustle community. It's Kate. Glad you are here as we're approaching year end. We are here to learn about year end techniques for surviving payroll. We got guest is Valerie from OnPay. She is going to teach us in general this playbook about how we can make sure we're supporting our clients confidently and correctly to navigate the hairiest time of payroll, which is kind of year end. So a couple of kind of announcements. This is the first of 2 videos, so I want to make sure that everyone comes back on November 28th. I'm having a trouble streaming. Anyway, November 28th, we are going to have another session called Boost Your Bookkeeping Business with Payroll Services, because it's a great additional add-on. As businesses grow, they're going to need payroll, and you can charge for that. We should be getting paid for that, for onboarding them, for all the support that we provide. So that session is going to be November 28th. Full disclosure, I have not used OnPay yet, but I've met a lot of people from OnPay, and they really just wanted to come on and educate us in general about this topic. So I was super thrilled that they came. And Valerie will share this with us, but if you do want to sign up with OnPay and how their process works, she will give a little bit of a message about OnPay, and there's a referral link below where you can get started with OnPay if you know that this is going to be your payroll provider. But we're here to learn in general. So Valerie, I know that you're here to teach and you have a slide deck, so I think you have intro slides, right? I need you to introduce yourself, but do you want to go ahead and start on the slides? Okay, let me add them to the stream here. Tell us about yourself, and then get into the playbook.
Sure. So first, thank you so much for having me today. I am an accountant community manager here at OnPay, and I've spent the last 12 and a half years or so working with accountants and bookkeepers across a bunch of different solutions. I've joined the OnPay team most recently in August, and I'm excited to dive into the payroll topics. And oh, by the way, I'm located in Naperville, Illinois, where it's very sunny today. So if you see a bit of light on my face, that's why.
Yeah.
And we'll take as much sun as we can get.
Yeah, you're about to not have too much.
Exactly. And then I guess we'll talk a little bit about what OnPay is as well for those that are unfamiliar. So OnPay is a full-service payroll solution that helps you support all of your clients' payroll needs, whether they have 1 to over 500 employees and contractors. We do both employee and contractor payroll, including nonprofits, restaurants, and farms who have some more complex needs. So we can handle a whole lot. We have over 30 years of experience in supporting clients on payroll, and we handle the federal, state, local, and year-end tax filings and forms. So you and your clients can get employees and contractors set up and pay them. We do direct deposit, of course, and then we'll handle the rest. And we also have detailed integrations with accounting softwares that you may be using, like QBO, QuickBooks Desktop, and Xero, as well as some connections to some leading HR and benefits apps. So we have a full technology stack around payroll. And we offer dedicated partner support, which includes an expert payroll setup. So regardless of how many employees your clients have or any of that, we will get them set up, put in their prior payroll history if you need to, and help you through that. So wanted to let you know a little bit about us. And as Kate said, we've got a referral link for you. We also provide our accounting and bookkeeping partners revenue share and discounts and free payroll for your practice. So something to keep in mind as we're going along.
Yeah, that's huge. Being able to, like, as you're onboarding employees, get that like extra referral money is big. I'm a big believer in like accountants trying to make money, not doing accounting things, which is like learning how to use referral programs, y'all. So that's awesome. So they'll learn more about that, if they sign up and work with their partner rep, I guess. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We can help you learn more about how that all works. And it's a pretty generous program. So be sure to check it out. Okay, so let's talk through what we're going to cover today. And I loved how you teed this up, Kate. It is the time of the year that small businesses and bookkeepers feel like they're in survival mode, right? So let's talk through the playbook for surviving some of these payroll tasks. I'm going to go through some kind of tips and reminders and advice on how to review and update employee, contractor, and company information, what to look for handling year-end bonuses, shareholder benefits, and fringe benefits, recording healthcare contributions and third-party sick pay, knowing your deadlines and filing options for W-2s and 1099s, and then also reviewing 2024, if you're watching this way off in the future, whatever year you're on, regulatory changes and requirements, and kind of how to plan ahead for the next year.
Yes.
So we've got a lot of good stuff to get through. Let's dive right in.
I want to jump in. If anyone, for those watching live, if you have questions, you can ask them in the chat, and I will read them to Valerie. So don't be shy about typing stuff in. All right, let's go ahead. Well,
perfect. Thanks, Kate. All right. So first up, reviewing and updating employee, contractor, and company information. So this is a really big one that when I talk to my support team, they say it's the thing that's overlooked the most. You want to go in and confirm that names are spelled correctly. I know that sounds kind of elementary, but there's always somebody who's got double letters or something going on that you just want to make sure you look at and fix. Verifying and updating addresses for folks. I've heard some crazy stories about people putting in placeholder addresses when they didn't have that info for employees. Most payroll providers don't really let you put in fake dummy data very, very easily, but it still happens, right? So something to keep a lookout for. Verify that employee social security numbers, FEINs, and ITINs are correct. The Social Security Administration has some great tools that you can use to validate those. So keep an eye out for that. And if you have the option, invite workers to do some of this themselves. So if you're a payroll provider, if you're working with OnPay, we sure offer this, but anyone you work with that lets you set up a portal for employees and contractors to go in and validate their name, their address, their email addresses. This is a great time of year to do it. You don't want to wait until the end of December. And it's really critical for paperless deliveries. So if you plan on, you or your clients plan on making sure that those W-2s and 1099s are delivered electronically, you got to make sure that email address is there to do so and that they've got access to wherever those are going to be housed.
Well, so I was thinking about come on, Valerie, why are we caring about the address, but we have to care about the email address, so you have to have one side has to be right. Either the proper email or the proper mailing address needs to be verified. Even though you might be thinking, oh, well, the verification is important and that's part of the tasks because it's a little bit of pain now or a whole lot of pain if it was wrong and you let it get through the year end and then you're like, no, it was wrong social security number, and it's well, now you just created hours of work instead of 30 minutes of work.
Well, exactly. And Kate, we can talk about, the home address, who cares? Well, this is the time of year that people find out that employees who work remotely may have moved, and that can change their state and local tax obligations as well, right?
That's a good point. Yes.
If they need to get corrections done, you don't want to be the person that's calling in to a payroll provider the last week of the year to try and get a correction accelerated. So it's a good, not only touch point for mailing, but a touch point to make sure that the payroll taxes have been handled correctly throughout the year.
You sound like you have helped some disaster situations before.
Goodness. We don't have time for stories, for a ton of stories. We will tell one quick one. I once had somebody call in to talk to me about 1099 problems. They had accidentally set up a dummy vendor and issued them a 1099 and electronically filed it, and the name was Pete Moss. Pete Moss, gardening Moss.
Oh my
and it
goodness.
was all I could do to not make gardening puns the whole time because filing taxes can be thorny, right? So
thorny. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Love it.
And they were embarrassed. It was the accountant or bookkeeper, I can't remember which, who had done it, and so they had to explain to their client, we accidentally transmitted some dummy employee or vendor or whatever.
Wow.
They had there. So it was a mess, but So it sounds simple, but check on that info. And likewise on your client side, right? make sure that your client's legal name is in there. I remember my very first time getting a W-2, the company had put their DBA instead of their legal name, and then I had to get a corrected W-2, and it was this whole thing, right? So make sure you check on that. Same with the address information for many of the things same reasons we just talked about, the ID number, and accurate state tax IDs for each agency and state where your client pays employees. And hopefully that's all been handled throughout the year, but it's just a good time of year to check in on all of this stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did we get any questions during that part?
No, we're good. Keep on rolling.
All right, good. Next section is handling year-end bonuses, fringe benefits, and shareholder benefits. So let's start off with year-end bonuses. This particular year, 2023, January 29th, is the last business day of the year. And so if you're issuing bonuses, a lot of people like to have those bonuses show up, right before, right after the holidays. Some people want it to be on the last day of the year. So just keep in mind what the timing is going to look like for that. We'll talk about that more in a moment. Understanding options like grossing up to cover taxes. If you're involved in helping your client set up bonuses, they may need to make some considerations. Some people want to just put the bonus on the last paycheck of the year. Others want to issue that as a separate check. So be mindful of that and how your payroll provider is going to handle that. On our end, we help people make those choices and get that all set up correctly. Beware of banking holidays and how the timing of direct deposits can be impacted by that. This year, Christmas and New Year's Day both fall on Mondays, which can kind of bump things a little strangely compared to previous years. So just keep an eye on how that's going to look. And likewise, increase direct deposit limits early if that's going to be necessary for your clients, if they need to work with their payroll provider to make sure they can cover those bonuses and not find themselves in a situation where they're wiring money or issuing paper checks. Something to just check on early. Make sure that if you need to make requests, do them as early as you can so that you don't end up with any surprises.
And that would be making also having to work with your bank, right? Like if I need to send like 50 grand deposits, like I have to tell the bank that too, not just the payroll provider, right?
That I imagine might vary by bank. I know with most payroll providers, you do a direct deposit limit increase, and then they make sure that that's going to be possible with the bank as kind of checking on the back end, the underwriting process for that. But it never hurts to be sure that you're not going to end up with, some sort of fraud flag or something for doing unusually high transactions. So that's a great piece. And then likewise, along the same lines is beware of the IRS having a next day rule for payrolls that result in over $100,000 in federal liabilities, which I know sounds huge, right? But even if you're serving small businesses, I've seen some pretty big year-end bonuses come through on those tech companies and professional service providers. I remember somebody calling me, I think it was December 23rd, because the podiatrist was issuing year-end bonuses to all the podiatrists, and they got the flag in the system of, hey, your tax liabilities are due next day because of this. And it threw everybody for a whole whirlwind. And I thought to myself, wow, I think if a handful of podiatrists are having $100,000 plus in federal liabilities, maybe I want to be a podiatrist in my next career.
In your next life.
That's a pretty generous bonus. They can buy a boat with that. But it is just something to make sure that you're talking to clients about so that they don't run into any surprises. Hey, are you going to be doing bonuses for your employees? Great. There's a handful of things you need to keep in mind for that.
Okay.
Good deal. And then I guess this little animation showing it in our system. Okay. Fringe benefits. So employee perks. There's a whole lot of fringe benefits out there. The most common ones we see at OnPay are use of company cars, gift cards given to employees, and things like gym memberships. And those can be taxable, and they need to be documented in the employee pay history and included on the W-2s. The IRS has a publication called 15B that outlines taxable fringe benefits. And that's something that you should also be able to set up in your payroll system and either go through the process of making a separate record, or some payroll providers, you might need to contact them to get those added in. It probably just depends on who you're working with, but it's often forgotten about, and it leads to corrections, amendments, and all those things down the road. So be mindful of those.
Okay.
And along those same lines, shareholder benefits. So 2% more or more shareholders of an S Corp have some extra benefits like company paid health insurance and HSAs and company provided vehicles. And so this is a little animation showing you adding that to a paycheck and OnPay. In case you haven't seen what running payroll looks like in OnPay, that's about what it's like, but we're rearranging it here. And you just the same thing. You want to know how and when to add those into your payroll system and record them for year end. And sometimes the workflows can be a little bit different for these fringe benefits and shareholder benefits. You might have to set them up at the company level and then add them to the applicable workers and then put them in like this on an added row on a paycheck, or there might be other workflows as well, depending on what you're using. So something to look at those help articles or reach out to your reps or your people at those companies to help on how to do this.
I mean, definitely don't go blindly, y'all. Like asking the group as well. There's a lot of payroll people. Some people like almost build a whole business around like really specializing in helping businesses with payroll. But Valerie, I want you to make sure that when we meet again on November 28th about adding bookkeeping services as like a line so we make more money, I'm like, this is complicated stuff and it's a lot of extra work. And so how do we talk to our clients about like, oh, it's great, gym membership this and car this, and that is going to be an extra, $300 a month because I'm going to be doing all this extra work for your 10 employees that you're doing this for. Like, so we have to like have that conversation as an industry, because this is the stuff that like makes me just like want to scream. Like, you think we're told to systematize, we're told to automate and, like have a process. And then it's like, and bam, like now we're moving lines around in OnPay. And to some extent we need to do that, but we need to be paid for it, because the client can't do it. They don't know. So sorry, I'm on a little high horse here, but like, I've been there. I've had people do this.
I will try and make sure that we talk about some of the kind of, I don't know, forgotten about pieces of that you all can consult clients on. You can help them set up things correctly. You can work with the payroll partners, in our software, how you can configure things if you're working with us, because that is a big piece of it. Even if you're having the compliance filings handled by somebody else, there are some opportunities for you to help clients and get paid for it in setting all this stuff up.
Right.
All right. We've got a few more to get through, and this is along the same lines. Healthcare contributions. So got to make sure those are being included on the W-2s, review the taxable and non-taxable contributions. And this should be something that they're getting documentation from their health insurance providers for that breaks it all out by employees. But as we've been talking about, if you can be proactive and give the clients the nudge to make sure that they're reviewing all that and that it's been set up and singing the whole year, then this is the time to do it for sure. And third-party sick pay as well. So that is if there were insurance payments received through an insurance company, it's considered earned income for that employee. Has to be on the W-2s, and you should get a notice from that insurance company that would detail those things. So there's a lot of kind of paperwork. A lot of it's received digitally, so it might be something that your clients can easily overlook in their emails. So pushing them to chase after this kind of information to make sure it's included at year end is a good call.
Is this like an AFLAC? I don't know third party sick pay. Like, what is this something that OnPay offers, or
if they got kind of payments, and forgive me, I might not know all the ins and outs of this distinctly, but yeah, if they get insurance payments directly, they've got to be included in those W-2s.
Okay. So it's some sort of like benefit that the employer has decided, and that's how I would know about it, is like, because otherwise if they're buying their own insurance, that's not going to go on their W-2 for my company.
Right. Yeah. This would be company issued and included.
Okay.
Sure.
reach out to your partner rep, guys, or ask the good payroll people in our Facebook community, because this will be a one that once you learn it, but until you've dealt with it, you're like, I didn't know this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't want to speak out of turn, but I'm certainly happy to point you into resources that would go into this in more depth. Happy to.
Perfect. Yep.
Cool. Okay, this one, being familiar with deadlines and filing and delivery options. These are things that tend to sneak up on people too. Fortunately, it's usually pretty straightforward in your payroll systems, especially if you have a full service system that's handling this side for your clients. But if your clients are doing this manually, or they're using a system where they have to prep those things manually, or you do, just making sure you're aware of the deadlines. This time of year, of course, we've got to wrap up the quarterlies. So the fourth quarter 941s, which go to the IRS, any quarterly state unemployment and state withholding forms you may have. Their due dates also tend to be January 31st, but some of them might be a little bit earlier. So something to kind of keep an eye out for. Those dates might vary a bit. And then annual year-end forms. The 940 is the federal unemployment tax return, W-2s, W-3s. So most people remember, oh, we got to get those W-2s to the employees, but they might forget that they've also got to get the W-3 to the IRS, right?
Mm-hmm.
So making sure that goes back when the W-2s get issued. The deadline's the same for both. And then the 1099 NECs need to be given to the contractors by January 31st as well. You get a little bit more time to file those electronically, but probably best to wrap that all up, unless you want to give some time for if anybody comes back with changes before you transmit the NECs to the government. So
I just want to jump in here, and I think if this schedule and these numbers look intimidating to anybody, like they were so intimidating to me when I first started. I didn't know 940 versus 941, and that's why I think especially as me, like, I have had accounting classes. I came from industry, right? Like, well, and then I was a stay-at-home mom. Like, but I only worked in corporate finance, and then I was a stay-at-home mom, and so, but I really wanted to build my own business. But that's why I think the concept of a full service payroll provider is so important, because I don't like, it made it so much less scary. And I have clients who, like, I do payroll for, but I don't do payroll. And I kind of think that unless you have like really grown up like working in a firm that like did this, none of us should be doing payroll. We need an OnPay to do our payroll, to do payroll. Our clients think that we're doing payroll, kind of. They see us as their payroll resource, but y'all, like, please never fill out a 940. Gosh, like, that's what, like, please don't. Like, there are modern solutions to that, okay? And that's what it means when you find a full service payroll provider. Oh, sorry, just another high horse. Like, this might be making some people panic, but OnPay is the solution to your panic. Like, and they file these for you. They do.
We do, and we see ourselves as an extension of your team in taking care of your clients. So yes, you're absolutely right. You can be involved, and you can kind of decide, maybe you've got the client that they're going to do it themselves, and you are just there as a resource to ask questions and make sure that information goes into their bookkeeping tool of choice correctly, right? That's probably where you can add a ton of value. Is we're going to make sure that however this is set up, it's flowing to the books, so that your reporting in QuickBooks or Xero, whatever you're using, is correct. But yes, they might be more involved in entering the numbers, but we're doing the calculations, we're transmitting the direct deposits, we're getting all these forms filled out and filed.
Exactly.
But it's still kind of on your clients, and perhaps on you to proactively give them those nudges to check on the things that we've covered so far. So keep that in mind for sure. A couple of things that come up as common kind of issues, surprises, things that need reminders with W-2s and 1099 specifically. If somebody is mailing them, they need to be postmarked by January 31st. If they are providing them electronically or in person or another method, and usually that other method is one of those like employee worker portals that I mentioned, they also need to be there by January 31st. So finish up that last payroll of 2023 and make sure that these things are handled throughout January, because that deadline sneaks up on folks. If the business has over 250 forms, they have to e-file with the IRS, but it's recommended that they do so regardless, right? That's the best way to go about it for speedy processing. And another important thing, and I was so glad I checked in with our partner success team earlier today and said, hey, is there anything I'm missing from this webinar? Oh, and that's them messaging me. Is there anything I'm missing here? And they said, make sure people know what options they have and when they have a deadline to submit against those options. So and what I mean by that is, if you want your provider to mail them, they've got to get them in the mail by a certain point, right? And they might have a big backlog. So there's probably a deadline to tell them you want them mailed. And likewise, if you're going to do electronic or printing, you probably have some sort of option to select that to make sure it gets into the portal on time. So that was a great tip from our partner success team. Like, you don't want to be the one that's, trying to wrap up the month of December and maybe go on a holiday break, and your clients like freaking out because they don't know how to get these to employees and want to have some knowledge about it before January. And of course, there's a huge rush to get a lot of other things done during January. So the earlier you can make sure you have a plan for this, the better.
What next?
All right. I wasn't sure if you were going to add on to something there.
No, right. I was just going to say, like, open the emails from the payroll provider saying your deadline is actually,
Yeah. Well,
4 days before
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I think all of us across the different providers try and do everything we can to bring that to your client's attention. But we know that a lot of those emails go unread. But chances are they might open a reminder from you. I hope maybe more than a reminder from us. I'm not sure, but however we can do it, send the messenger pigeons, put it on your website, put it on your Facebook. However we can kind of get the word out of, hey, you've got to have a plan for these forms so that your employees won't be upset. Because I don't know, I think that there's such a fight to keep employees happy, to keep your talent, that you don't want people kind of having, oh, my W-2 is wrong or was inaccurate, or I thought I was going to get it in the mail, but it actually was on some portal I had to log into. Right. Like, you don't want those surprises to kind of add to any sort of grievances employees might have.
Right.
All righty. And then we've got two more quick ones here. Educating clients on changes and requirements for the upcoming year. So this, pretty straightforward, encourage clients to review and understand changes that will impact employees. Chances are their employees are going to see that their paycheck is a little bit different because of some changes in the coming year, whether it's federal or state. So some Social Security and Medicare changes have already been announced. States will announce their changes kind of state by state and update accordingly. A lot of your payroll providers, including OnPay, will have a whole guide or resource on their website that shows you these changes as they happen. So it can be a place that you point clients to, or you use that information in your own resources. There's also, in recent years, been a ton of changes to requirements for 401k and workers' comp and some other things that sort of sit in that HR and payroll umbrella. So your client might be behind on that kind of thing. If their state requires them to have 401k plans, if they're over a certain number of employees, for example, those are the types of things that people need to look into, because a lot of that kind of stuff used to be with bigger businesses or, only happening in certain states, but it's a lot more widespread and it's impacting businesses of all sizes. And labor law posters should also reflect those changes. So that's something that people need to order and get put up in offices as well this time of year.
So that list of those bullets, I'm just thinking about, you get into your OnPay portal or read the emails that you have from OnPay, that because you're an accountant that uses OnPay, and turn these into like social media posts. Like, I know there's nothing sexier than a payroll social media post. Okay. Like, don't forget, Social Security and Medicare changes are blah, 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 or coming your way. Reach out for more details. Like that,
Yeah.
just like taking this little list right here. I was just imagining like a Monday through Friday, like boom, 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 like a little templated Canva image or something. Because people
Absolutely.
don't know this.
Go to YouTube and look up this video afterwards, or
Yes.
if you're watching it, pause it and grab some of these things. And yeah, absolutely. Social media content, outreach. I've even seen some practices sending text messages to their clients like, hey, have you set up your system to update whatever, this, that, the
Right.
other thing that we've talked about today. So it can create some conversations. It can create revenue opportunities for you if they need help. So
Yep.
definitely worth doing. And then planning for 2024, this is going to be more that you could create some posts around. If your
Yep.
clients have new unemployment rates or
Yes.
deposit frequencies, those notices come. Sometimes clients get pretty scared about, what does this mean? How is this going to work? That's something that you might actually need to go into the systems and update. Some of the systems might trigger you to do so.
Well, the notices look so frightening.
They do. They
They
do.
look like you're
Even when
going to
they're good
jail.
news, they look frightening, right? So,
Yes.
and every state notice is a little different for where the percentage rate is and why it changed. So that is definitely something that clients can get stressed about, and you can help ease those stresses. Likewise, knowing when to update any changes on the employees, right? Deductions and contribution changes, wages, withholdings, things that are effective in 2024. You don't want to change that too early if it shouldn't be part of the last pay run of
Yeah.
2023.
Raises. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but make sure you do it before the first one. And that can be a short window of like somebody's doing weekly paychecks. So
Very short.
definitely something to keep in mind. And then if you're switching providers, make sure there's a plan for that. You want to factor in the employee setup, especially for direct deposit, and some other tasks like getting logged into those portals for the first time so they know where to find their pay stubs. Make sure you find out if there's any sort of deadlines from providers. If you're planning to switch and run payroll by January 1st, you want to get in early. This is the time of year that we see the most enrollments, the most people setting things up, because they want to be able to relax in December knowing, hey, we're just going to have a couple more things to do to get the final payrolls from the old system moved into the new system, and then be ready to go live. So fortunately, if you're connecting with OnPay, we've got a really amazing implementation team that can help with that. They'll do the data migration of the employee profiles and give you the steps that are needed on the employer side to make sure everybody is paid on time in January.
Yeah, I think we'll focus on that a little bit more on the 28th too. But like, this is the time of year to change. This is the time of year to get that dinosaur who's doing it by hand onto a new system. Targeting. You don't like. Ideally, you're not going to be running. We're not going to run one payroll in 2023, y'all. You're going to wait until that January time. But their implementation team will make it so that you're not. You're reducing that scrambling. But it's always best to get all your payrolls for the year in the system, so you're not starting with OnPay in March and going backwards. You can do that, and I know the implementation teams do add in the old payroll, but the best way to handle it is to use your partner rep to get ready for a 2024 like plan of attack. So
exactly, a fresh start is always the best way about that. So if you do look for a partner, we talked about what OnPay does already, but I wanted to make sure you had our contact information.
Yes.
If you're watching this in the future, you'll have to ask if we have a different offer. But right now, if you're watching this in November, we've got a $250 billing credit for every client you switch to OnPay who runs payroll by the end of January 2024. So something to keep in mind. You can call us or email us. We have a great team, most of which is located in Atlanta, Georgia, that's happy to help you or give you a demo of our product and talk about the options that you have with us. So
This is awesome, y'all. So like this information is going to be worthwhile, like no matter, yeah, she's like said, no matter what time you start. The referral might be a little different, but in general, I encourage you to lean heavily on the support team. Like they have people who are sitting there in Atlanta or in Naperville, who are meant to help us, and they're gonna. Don't bang your head against the wall trying to figure it out. Just say like, okay, I've got these 2 clients. They've agreed to move to OnPay, and I want you to make it as smooth as possible, right? Because OnPay wants us to stay with them. Because OnPay doesn't want us to come to them with 2 clients. They want us to bring the next 12 clients, right? Like, so they're set up to help us in the early stages, because then we'll stay, and every new client we get, that we'll put them on this payroll, y'all. That's so just, I mean, I know Valerie's going to be the one that's leaned on, but lean heavily. Say, I want to not mess this up. Give me the words to say to my client. Like if you don't know how to explain it, ask them to help you explain, because a lot of this is going to be some people's first time kind of doing this. How do I sell to my, how do I tell my client to come on to OnPay with me? So
absolutely. And we truly believe in helping you through that. I mentioned before, we see ourselves as an extension of your team. We're tripping over each other to help you. That partners inbox is a shared inbox. So we kind of round robin how we can support you, and you can get a dedicated rep once you add a certain number of clients as well. So we've got a lot of resources in place, and we are set up to help the bookkeeper that's never put a client on payroll before, all the way up to the experts have been working in payroll for, their whole careers.
I know, right?
We can support you no matter where you are in that journey, with no judgment, right? We're just here to help. So,
and that's the important thing. These are the people to ask your questions to, because you're going to feel like, I don't even know I'm going to say dumb things, and they'll have heard it all. I promise you, their staff has heard plenty of people who need to be taught, and that's what they're there for. So I think y'all have just proven that by the generous teaching that y'all have done today. Well, I want to keep this video short. I always try to aim for 30 minutes. So we're going to wrap up. Y'all, please reach out to Valerie at OnPay, at partners@onpay.com, and come back on November 28th. We're going to be talking about how we make the money doing this. We're supposed to earn a living. We deserve to earn a living. We're hard workers. And the cool thing is, someone who works at a payroll company has seen and talked to people who are good at making money selling OnPay, right? Like selling payroll services. So they've seen, thousands and thousands of firms who are doing this. So we're going to get to learn from them about that. So
absolutely. And we'll do some introductory thing on some of those pieces that we mentioned earlier today as well. So if that went a little bit over your head, some of those terms, some of those form names, we'll be sure to talk about that. And more importantly, talk to you about how to talk to your clients about that. So yeah, looking forward to that follow-up session, and how we can all make more revenue in 2024, huh?
There you go. All right, I'm going to sign off for now. Adios, everyone. See you all in a couple weeks. Bye.
Thanks so much, Kate. Bye-bye.
Bye.